All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this virtual village board meeting to order on Monday, September 21, 2020. We're meeting virtually again tonight because it is not yet practical or prudent to meet in person. So to start off the agenda, would you all please rise and join the village board in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Rosenberg.
Here.
Trustee Tinaglia.
Here.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Here.
Trustee Padovani.
Here.
Trustee Scaletta. Trustee Baldino.
Here.
Trustee Canty. Trustee Canty.
Here.
Trustee LaBedz.
Here.
President Hayes.
Here. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes, and we have two sets from the evening of September 8th, 2020. The first is the village board meeting minutes. Are there any changes or passes?
Pass.
All right, passed by Trustee Padovani. Is there a motion to approve? Motion to approve by Trustee Baldino?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee LaBedz. All those, well, let's take a roll call.
Trustee Baldino.
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz.
Yes.
Trustee Padovani.
Pass.
Excuse me, yes. Trustee Canty.
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia.
Yes.
Trustee Rosenberg.
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. And next is the committee of the whole meeting minutes from that same evening. Another pass for Trustee Padovani. Anyone else? Changes or passes? Seeing none, a motion to approve by Trustee Tinaglia, seconded by Trustee Schwingbeck. Roll call.
Trustee Tinaglia.
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz.
Yes.
Trustee Baldino.
Yes.
Trustee Rosenberg.
Yes.
Trustee Canty.
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Next is the approval of the accounts payable, and I call on Trustee Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. I move approval of the warrant register with a check date of September 15th, 2020 in the amount of $2,286,594.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Rosenberg, second by Trustee Schwingbeck. Any questions or comments from the board? Anything from the audience? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Rosenberg.
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia.
Yes.
Trustee Baldino.
Yes.
Trustee Canty.
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz.
Yes.
Trustee Padovani.
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Well, there are no recognitions and presentations tonight or public hearings, so we'll move on to citizens to be heard. And Becky, did we receive any comments in advance of the meeting to be read into the record?
We did not, Mayor.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience joining us virtually tonight that wishes to address the board on an item not on the agenda? I'm seeing no hands tonight. So we will then move on in the agenda to old business, and there is none. So we'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there any members of the board who wish to vote no or pass or recuse themselves on any items on the consent agenda? Trustee Padovani.
Mayor, thank you, Mayor. I need to recuse myself from consent agenda F as in Frank on the Class 7C commercial urban relief eligibility incentive, as I am an investor with the First Ascent rock climbing gym that this is for.
All right, thanks, Trustee Padovani. Any other any requests by the village board to remove any items on the consent agenda? Any requests by any members of the audience to remove an item on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none. Again, are there any members of the board who wish to vote no or pass on any of the remaining items on the consent agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by trustee Tinaglia, seconded by trustee Baldino. Any further questions or comments from the board or from the audience? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Tinaglia,
Yes.
trustee Baldino,
Yes.
trustee Schwingbeck,
Yes.
trustee Canty,
Yes.
trustee Padovani.
And my yes is for items A through E. Yes.
Correct. Trustee Rosenberg,
Yes.
trustee LaBedz,
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. We move on then to approval of bids, and we do have one tonight. And so that's regarding renewable energy aggregation. And so I call on our village manager, Randy Recklouse.
Thank you, Mayor. Back in September of 2019, if you all recall, the village determined to conduct a one-year trial for a renewable energy electric aggregation program. And this program provides renewable energy credits, or what they call RECs, sourced from wind power generators in the Midwest, and they allow the village to be a USA EPA green power community. The RECs are purchased, they cover 100% of all of the power purchased for all village customers. Based on last year's experience, the equivalency that we obtained was it's equivalent to 369 million miles driven by a passenger vehicle, or likewise carbon emissions equivalent to 163 million pounds of coal burned. The current program expires at the December 2020 meter cycle date. So the other thing I'll mention is under the trial program, the village received a civic contribution of $174,000 that can be applied towards green projects in the village. And the way that it works is the program switches more efficient customers to a new power provider, and the savings from that are used to buy RECs for all Arlington Heights residents. We are looking to renew this program again this year. What we're trying to do is we did get a couple of companies to bid on the program, and we're going to be talking about that in a second. The way that this works is if the program's approved, 2 letters would be going out to residents over the next couple of weeks, next several weeks, I should say. One would let folks know about the program, and the second would inform residents whether or not they're one of the efficient customers whose electric provider will change. All residents would continue from ComEd's rates whatsoever during the entire length of the contract. Any resident that's chosen for the program has the opportunity to opt out of the program if they would like to. After receiving our bids and going through them and looking agreement would provide a civic contribution of about $450,000 total over the 3-year period that we could apply to future green projects in the village. One of the reasons we're choosing MC Squared is not merely because of the bid, but because they have an excellent 5-star rating in the industry, and references that we reached out to indicate that they do an excellent job of customer service and implementation. And in order to further reduce implementation issues, we think that entering into a 3-year contract is advised. As with the last time, the implementation process requires that we follow a few regulatory procedures, and the coordination takes about 70 to 80 days with ComEd. And again, this program would begin with the December 2020 meter reading cycles. If approved, staff would be doing a lot of public outreach on this effort, so residents understand the program, including reaching out to folks in our senior community through the resources of the senior center. So tonight we're recommending that the village board accept the proposal from MC Squared to establish a renewable energy aggregation program for a 36-month term, which provide for the village to receive 100% renewable energy credits for the program term and a civic contribution in the amount of $450,000, and to authorize the village manager to sign the contract. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
All right, thank you, Randy. I do like the 3-year suggested term. I think that will reduce the number of communications we have to make with our residents. And I think the less change in this area, the better. I know, as you indicated, there were some rollout difficulties with the implementation the last time. And so hopefully it'll be a lot smoother process this time. And I think the fewer and clearer communications, the better in this regard. So any other questions or comments from the board? Trustee Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mayor. Randy, the other round for, I think it's Eligo, is that it?
Yes.
Was that the higher amount for just the 1 year or all 3 years?
For 1 year.
Each year. So the higher amount was just for the 1 year.
Correct.
So we wouldn't have received that for all 3 years if we.
No, I'm sorry.
3-year contract.
Both of the bids reflect a 1 year agreement. If you want to know the amount for 3 years, you'd have to multiply it by 3.
Okay. So for some reason, I was under the impression that it was just the first year and not the other second and third year, but you're saying that would have been the amount for all 3 years.
Correct.
So we still feel, even with the differential, that it's worth taking the other company.
Based on our experience, yes. We think we want to make sure that we have a smooth transition process, given some of the challenges we faced last time. We want to make sure that our residents are comfortable with who we partner with and that the communications can be clear.
Okay. I don't know. I just seem to feel, even though they have not the greatest reputation, the amount of differential is fairly sizable to forego that. So.
Right, other questions from the board? Trustee Canty. You're still on mute, Mary Beth.
So not to beat a dead horse, Randy, but I'm kind of with Bert on this one. I don't fully understand why we would switch, because aren't we with a LIGO's program right now? So then switching to MC2 would be a change that we would need to make from the status quo, right? And they're offering a bigger incentive, or am I just not fully putting this all together?
No matter, because we're entering a new agreement, no matter who we go with, we are going to have to switch. We're going to have to start the process over. And so no matter what, we're going to have to go through the process of mailing out letters, doing correspondence, all of that. And, there were some challenges last time in the implementation. And due to some of the confusion, I mean, we literally received hundreds and hundreds of phone calls at Village Hall. And so that's not something we're looking to do. And we want to make sure this goes smooth. And again, MC Squared has a impeccable reputation. And, when we look to partner with folks, the primary reason for doing this isn't for the, isn't for the civic contribution. It's for getting renewable energy and doing something that we think that our community can be proud of. And that's why we went with this bid. We think on the long term, this is going to be a stronger partner for us.
Okay, I guess I'm just not fully understanding the why, because it sounds to me like it's all based on these questions that we got. And aren't we going to get questions anyway? I mean, people are very confused about this whole idea of the aggregation, right?
Or
at least they were when we talked about it last year.
We're confident that MC Squared will be able to field a lot of those questions well. And some of the confusion was some of the bounce back from the other provider.
Okay, all right. I think I get it now. Thanks.
All right, other questions from the board? Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. So Randy, I think it's safe to say there are no skeletons in the closet with this one. I know there was a lot of concern, not just the questions, but the reputation of the company we actually did go with, because they had, I don't remember the details, but some issues.
Correct. They've got a MC Squared has a 5-star rating. We called references, and they were also with some communities nearby that we trust that have used them for multiple years. And again, very, very good reputation.
Thank you. That helps.
All right. Trustee Schwingbeck. Tom, you're on mute.
Thank you. Randy, we talked a year ago when we went with Iligo that there was an advantage to go with a 1-year contract because of potential price fluctuations possibly going down. So by locking in on a 3-year contract, are there some things in there that if we see some fluctuation, we can have discussions, or are we going to lock in on a fixed price for 3 years?
Theoretically, you know, if there are changes, the provider can open it up, but we felt that because this was a challenge from an implementation standpoint, we felt that outweighed what we were looking for in terms of having a 3-year implementation. We thought would go smoother. You know, we don't want to have anything where the village's reputation is hindered in any way. I thought that was something that was important to all of us, and be careful who we partner with. I know Mr. Hoover, who's a representative from NIMAC, our energy consultant, has his hand raised, and he may be able to answer that question a little bit more clearly in terms of what our contract would entail.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Hoover, let me call on you at this point if you are willing and able to hook up with us.
Yes, if you can hear me, what I am, just want to respond to Trustee Schwingbeck's comment, because I was the one a year ago who said there may be some opportunity to go in the shorter term. Mm-hmm. It was a very new program at the time, and we were working with other suppliers to bring other suppliers into the mix. Hopefully, that with more competition, there would be more opportunity. I regret to say that over the last year, we have not been able to bring other suppliers into the mix, and as a result, we support the manager's recommendation to go for a 3-year, because we don't see anything changing in the near term, bringing other suppliers into the mix.
Mr. Hoover, just if you could identify who you're with and your position.
Yes, I'm with NIMAC, a consultant that works with the village to manage this program, and I am the executive director.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Trustee Rosenberg.
Hoover, if I can ask you a question. So in your consideration for the recommendation that you've given the village, I mean, do you feel that the significant differential in the contribution that we would have gotten as opposed to what we are proposing to get more than offsets the differential in choosing the vendors?
Well,
because we're talking about obviously a significant amount of money here.
Right. I would, I won't be in a position to make that judgment for you, but I will be supportive of the decision, because I appreciate the unfortunate amount of time that staff was involved in this a year ago, and I am very supportive of the quality of MC Squared and their customer service folks to be able to manage this in a much more efficient manner.
But if I can further that, so you don't feel, based upon the fact that a year has gone by, and even with what's going on between residents and Iligo, that they can handle the additional ability to deal with issues and questions and things now?
We've, my staff and I have worked quite a bit with Iligo to bring them up to speed, so to speak. We just frankly have more confidence with MC Squared.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, other questions from the board? Seeing none, are there any questions from the audience? We do have one question. Melissa Kayer. Melissa?
Hello. I had sent Arhum comments earlier in the day, and I just resent them now.
What, was that on this issue, Melissa?
That was on Citizens to be Heard.
What, was it on the renewable energy aggregation or was it on something
No.
else?
Something else.
All right. Well, Becky, you did not receive anything earlier, did you?
No, I did not receive anything earlier, and I just checked my email. I've not received anything this evening. I have not checked my junk email, so let me check that quickly.
Well, Melissa, let's finish this agenda item and let the village clerk see if she received your comments.
Okay.
So is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the village board on renewable energy aggregation? Seeing none, what's the will of the board? We do have a staff recommendation. Trustee Baldino.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to make a motion that the village board accept the proposal from NC Squared to establish a renewable energy aggregation program for a 36-month term, which will provide for the village to receive 100% RECs for the program term and a civic contribution in the amount of $450,000, and to authorize the village manager to sign the contract.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Baldino, second by Trustee Canty. Any further questions or comments from the board or from the audience? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Baldino,
Yes.
Trustee Canty,
Yes.
Trustee Rosenberg,
No.
Trustee LaBedz,
Yes.
Trustee Padovani,
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck,
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia, Trustee Tinaglia,
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Well, thank you all, and thank you, Mr. Hoover, for your consultation and input in this important decision for our community. So thank you. Next, we move on in the agenda to new business, and we do have one item tonight. That's the request for a land use variation to allow a crematorium in the M1 district and variations. And that's to be located at 11 West College Drive. Is the petitioner present, Mr. Flores? And we've got two of you. So if you just identify yourselves, if you would.
Hi, this is Philip and Colleen Flores. Can you guys see us or hear us?
We can see and hear you, so welcome.
Thank
Why
you.
don't you tell us what you're looking to do here, if you would?
Wonderful. Go ahead, Beth.
So I'm Colleen, this is Philip Flores. We're longtime residents here in Arlington Heights, a great community. We love living here and we look forward to opening a business here. So we've thought of opening a business for a while. We were considering cremation, but with the flame base, there was a lot of risks there. So as we looked more into cremation and learned about this water solution and learned about the equipment involved, it just more and more intrigued us and seemed like a great opportunity, an unmet need in the marketplace. So we researched the equipment and learned more and more about the safety of the process. And here we are today. So looking for the land variance acceptance.
So did you want us to share the presentation or are you guys pretty comfortable with what you've seen in your packets?
Well, can you give us just a brief rundown, if you would, maybe the elevator version, if you would?
Sure, not a problem, Mayor. So let me talk to you a little bit about what aquamation is. So at the end of the day, Colleen talked about cremation, and it's really the alternative. So instead of going flame-based, where you're actually in an oven at about 1600 to as high as 2200 degrees, this is really a more eco-friendly solution that is warm water, shaken and stirred with some chemicals, 95% water, 5% alkaline. And what happens is there's dissolving that takes place gently, And the byproduct really goes to the water reclamation area of Greater Chicago. So the very bottom portion of what I had on the presentation really talks a little bit about what the potassium hydroxide is. And alkaline is made up of two components. Chemical. I'm going to take you through a quick chemistry here. Potassium and it's going to take you through sodium hydroxide combined together is what makes alkaline. Commonly found in makeup, commonly found in soap. These are products that people see, and this is the output that comes through. So that's a little bit about what the aquamation process is.
So the history of aquamation started in the late 1800s, came to the US in the 1990s, first used by medical labs on animals, and then moved to the human cadavers. Popularity grew. The first funeral home industry use was in 2011. And then it really expanded with pets faster because of, less legislation approval needed. So as of now, 21 states have approved the process, and Illinois approved it in 2012.
So one of the most common questions is what really happens to the water? So I talked to you earlier about the water going to the greater water reclamation area, but the beauty behind this existing process is 99% of the water actually returns to the ecosystem. So the water reclamation area loves this byproduct because A, it helps with the pH level, B, it's sterile, and the equivalent of the use of the water is really the equivalent of gray water. So it can be used for watering plants and things of that nature. Not what we're intended to use, but this is actually a complement to what helps purify water that comes back to the population, our environment. So what I'll take you through highly here is really who our audience is as far as our business model. And we're really targeting from the human sector. It's going to be funeral homes. It's going to be, and they're really going to be bringing their business directly over to us. And this is an alternative to what they do today and offer. In the state of Illinois, just from a statistics perspective, 60% of all people end up in cremation. And when these individuals are actually presented with this solution, 80% of them will go with an aquamation solution versus going with a family-based solution. So as it relates to the pet business is really going to come from veterinarian clinics. It's going to come from pet shelters, municipalities, and then families directly, right? So if an animal does pass away at home, they will call, make an appointment to come in and drop off their loved one pet in the crematorium. Any questions so far?
Yeah, do you have anything else to present?
Yeah, so what I was going to highlight is, what you'll see in the deck is I had an aerial view because I want to make sure you understood where it was located. It's on College Drive in the M1 district, which is on the north end of town. I also included a floor rendering. I thought it might be nice to see what it would look like as far as the facility and how we plan on operating. And then for those that have never heard of alkaline hydrolysis or aquamation, I included on slide 8 2 pictures that show you what the equipment looks like for both the human and separately for the pet system. And the very last 2 pages of the deck I provided were really intended to answer a lot of commonly asked questions that we hear from people. So hopefully we close the gap as it relates to this topic and familiarity with aquamation.
All right, thank you. Let me just ask a couple of questions and see what your response is. I did see some information in the Plan Commission minutes that you are in fact licensed. Is that by the state of Illinois?
Yes. So what happens is there is an association that manages a lot of the regulation that provides the state the state comptroller's office with the guidelines that are used from a licensing perspective. So we are certified operators and we are licensed within the state of Illinois.
Yeah, that was the second question I had, is whether or not you had to receive any kind of certification to do this process. And just tell us about that training. How long was that?
Yeah, so the aquamation training itself, they do it based off of the type of machinery that you're using. So it's a different program for each type of system that you currently have. So the number of hours that you currently take to go through each equipment just to be certified to advance to the next level is about 8 to 12 hours per machine. Then what happens from there is you go into being qualified to go ahead and purchase the equipment. And once you're able to go and purchase the equipment, you go through an additional training that takes you through really the whole safety aspect of working with chemical spills and how do you manage that, and really putting together the guidelines that are associated with making sure that you're operating professionally as a business, making sure that that the guidelines are being followed, because you do have some chemicals. None of the stuff is flammable, but it's just making sure that we are treating the environment the way we should be and being eco-friendly in the way we operate.
Okay. And then the last question I had was whether or not you would be in a situation where you would have to store either human or animal remains for any period of time. For whatever reason, you've got too many that you're working on at one time, or you're on vacation or whatever. Would you ever store remains at your facility?
Yeah, so we'll talk about the turn time, right? So we can process about three to four cremations on the human side per day. As it relates to animals, we can cremate about 28 per day. So there is a pretty quick turn on the way we execute and would operate the business. Is there a possibility that, with a pandemic that we have in place, that there could be more volume coming through? There sure can be, right? But in the facility that Colleen and I both found on the north end of town, it's allowing us with the capacity to go and expand so that we can go ahead and address any growth that we have taken place.
So you have a space there where you can store bodies before you enter them into the process?
That's correct, right. So it's so one of the images you may have seen, it was called a walk-in cooler. That was really the purpose of the walk-in cooler. So it has the capacity of holding up to 24.
Okay, great. Let's go. Charles, do you want to go to your presentation before we go to the board for further questions?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and everybody. This is a 23,000 square foot building in a M1 manufacturing district. The petitioner will be leasing 2,600 square feet of that, so a little over 10% of the building for their use. This is the last vacant space in the building, so if this were to be approved by the board, the building would be fully occupied. They do need a land use variation for a crematorium because typically the larger crematoriums have funeral services, they have processions, and they require larger parking and have a bigger impact on the neighborhood. That is not the case in this particular situation. There's a small vestibule and office and consultation room in the front of the building. The warehouse space area is where the operation takes place, and in the back of the building there's an existing overhead door where vehicles would back into the building for the deliveries. Their hours of operation would be 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's a fairly low intensity use in a manufacturing district. So staff and the Plan Commission recommended approval of this request. There are 64 parking spaces on site, which is 3 spaces in excess of our minimum code requirement. The petitioner did do a parking count in July, indicated that only about 15 spaces were occupied on the days that they conducted that count. I would caution, however, with COVID-19, it's really not an accurate count because many businesses may not have had their employees occupying their facility at that time. But nonetheless, the site does exceed our minimum parking requirements, and both staff and Plan Commission recommended approval.
All right, thanks, Charles.
Thank
Trustee
you.
Rosenberg had a question.
Mr. Flores, congratulations on your business. But so if I'm understanding this correctly, you're basically going to be someone acting like a subcontractor for, I mean, people wouldn't be able to deal with you direct as far as basically they would be going through, I assume, funeral homes, and then they would be the go-between between, you processing the remains and everything.
So Trustee Rosenberg, as it relates to humans, you're absolutely right. They would have to go through a funeral director, a funeral home, and arrange for what type of ultimate disposition they want for the loved one. As far as pets go, that's a completely different story, right? So you're going to get 2 sides of the house. You're going to get clients that come to us from veterinarian clinics and at shelters if I were just to leave it high level with those two. And then you might have those individuals that might bring their animal who passed away at home just directly into the crematory.
So that being the case, I mean, will you be responsive to like events for animals and things that occur after hours and things like that, and weekends, and that you would be able to provide, to handle the disposition of the pet or something?
Yeah, that would be appointment only, and we would also offer pickup from people's homes. So
Okay.
those would be more rare events.
Okay.
But we would ask that people drop off in the back and be discreet, so the animal would be covered as they brought them into our facility. We also have the garage door so they can pull back in as well.
Yeah, I just wouldn't want to see a case where somebody actually, leaves a pet there, sitting at the door, and not being around. Let's say on a Friday night it happens, and then you wouldn't be back in your place till Saturday morning or Monday morning.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And to try and mitigate that risk, what we have is active camera systems taking place. So we are going to certainly know if there's any motion taking place within the facility.
Okay, that's good to know. And as far as, just curious, is the cost significantly lower for your service versus a regular cremation, or comparable?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm just going to throw out comparable is the answer. But when you think about it in the greater scheme of, the way operation takes place, this is cremation itself is a less expensive cost than burial, right? And that's what's been the most attractive nature for most people to subscribe to it. But secondly, when you think about the aquamation component of how it actually takes place, it really should be. And what you'll see taking place is the marketplace is going through an evolution, and you're going to start to notice that there's going to be cost adjustment taking place as it relates to cremations in general. So that's my soft answer, because I don't price it directly. The funeral home does, but I can tell you that the way our model is priced, it is technically less expensive.
Okay, it's good to know. Thank you. And then same thing with, I suppose price for a human, regardless of whether they're 200 pounds or 300 pounds, comparable, I guess, as far as that goes too.
Yeah, there's no, you're correct. There is no charge based off of size. So,
okay. Okay. And everything that you've indicated in your narrative, that there is no kind of after effects of how you process, everything, and there should be no issues as far as for whatever areas are surrounding you, as far as any kind of secondhand effects or anything.
No, and so I will say that I had 8 in-depth conversations during the hearing process in advance of the Planning Commission, and a lot of those questions were all tied to: is there going to be a smell? Right. What can I expect from, I'm asthmatic, this or that. And once I explain the fact that there is no EPA emission taking place here, this is truly the only reason there's a stack sticking outside the top of the building, as you would have in your house for the stack of your house, is just to equalize the container that's pressurized. That's it. It's just letting air in and out. That's all there is to it. Really, it's a liquid byproduct that comes out of our system that goes directly into the sanitary.
With your business.
Thank you, Trustee.
Trustee LaBedz. Robin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. Thank you. Actually, my question is for Charles. I know that some years ago we approved a pet crematorium in the same general area, and I haven't really heard anything about it, so I assume they've never had any problems or anything like that you're aware of.
To my knowledge, Trustee LaBedz, there have been no complaints or issues with that particular crematorium. It is a little northwest of this particular location, but in the same general industrial area.
So it's likely that this one should run pretty smoothly also.
I would imagine so.
That's good. That was the only question that I had, and thank you for your business and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions from the board? Trustee Baldino.
Thank you, Mayor. As Robin just said, I wish you very good luck with your business. As an environmental chemist, I can attest that this is not a new technique. We don't see it very often in my industry, but we do see it, and it's been around for a long time. My questions might be a little bit more technical, and it has to do with the chemicals that you're going to use. Are you buying them pre-mixed, or are you buying them concentrated?
We're actually going to be purchasing them separately. So the potassium hydroxide as well as the sodium hydroxide. They sell them to us in 50-pound bags. The chemicals themselves are the chemical, and we mix them together and we lay it gently over the remains and then put them in the system, and then the water takes care of the rest.
Okay, great. So you're not buying them in concentrated liquid form, you're buying them in pellets and flakes.
Correct, for safety,
okay.
Yes.
Okay, right. Okay, so that drastically reduces the chances for a spill. That's great. And I know in reading through the materials, you said that during the process, the chemicals are completely neutralized. Are you doing any monitoring of your effluent before it goes into the sanitary sewer?
Yes, as a matter of fact, all that is digitally recorded for us, so we know what the output is, and there's an adjustment to the pH level as needed, right?
Great. Okay, and so you're going to have some acid on site as well?
No acid.
No acid?
No acid. We're strictly just going to be the water and the potassium hydroxide. We're going to have a CO2 tank, but again, that has nothing to do with
acid. Okay, so you're going to adjust the pH with CO2 as needed. Okay.
Yes.
Great. Okay, that's what I have. Again, I can assure everyone here that this is not. It's a new application for me, but the process itself is not new. It's been around for a long, long time. So thank you very much. And again, I wish you the best of success.
Thank you, Trustee.
Any other questions from the board? If not, are there any questions from the audience on this agenda item? Seeing none, we do have a unanimous recommendation for approval from the Plan Commission. Do we have a motion? Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. I move approval of the PC 20-011, a land use variation to allow crematory within the M1 zoning district, and the following variation that was approved by the Plan Commission.
Second.
Motion by Trustee LaBedz, seconded by Trustee Padovani. Any questions or comments from the board or from the audience? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Padovani?
Yes.
Trustee Baldino?
Yes.
Trustee Canty?
Yes.
Trustee Rosenberg?
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia?
Yes.
President Hayes?
Yes. Well, congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Flores, and we welcome you to the village as a business owner and operator. I know you lived here for a number of years, and so we're very grateful that you've chosen Arlington Heights to expand your involvement in our community. And I applaud your entrepreneurial spirit for coming up with a business such as this. All of our businesses are very important to us, and we look forward to many, many years of success at that location for your new business. So congratulations. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, trustees.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, there is no other new business. And so we would move on in the agenda to the report of the village manager. Mr. Recklaus?
I do have an item tonight, Mayor. Tonight is noteworthy as it will be the very last village board meeting for our in-house counsel, Robin Ward. She is retiring on October 2nd. Robin has been providing legal advice to the village for 32 years. And when you think of all of the changes that this community and this organization have gone through during that period, we're talking since 1988, people. What a big role she played throughout that time. It's fair to say that she's really has been a significant contributor to this community's history, not just the organization's development. And I can say in my almost 6 years here, Robin's always been a trusted advisor, not only to me, but the whole management team, and a tremendous and almost frighteningly reliable source of institutional knowledge. She was always the person I knew I could turn to when I wanted honest feedback and didn't want someone to just tell me what I wanted to hear. And I'm very grateful for that. Robin has always been a thoughtful advocate for what is fair, what is ethical, and what is right throughout her tenure. And there are very few people that have had as big of an impact on the Arlington Heights way as she has. So I just wanted to take this public opportunity to wish her a well-deserved and happy retirement and to thank her for her service.
Well, thanks, Randy. Let me just echo those comments and add a few of my own. Robin and I have a lot in common. We're both lawyers. We've both been with the village for 30 years or more in Robin's case. We both live in the same subdivision. And most importantly, and most interestingly, I think, is that we both share the same favorite place to go on vacation, and that's Walt Disney World. And I know she's going to be spending a lot of time there in her retirement. And I can't, we've talked about a lot of things, Robin, over the past 30 years. I'm not sure if we've talked more about legal issues impacting the village or about new things going on at Disney World, but it's probably about 50-50. But I can't thank you enough, Robin, for your contributions to the village generally, but to me personally. As a legal counsel, you've just been invaluable to me as a trustee, and then in my subsequent role as mayor. You've saved us on many, many occasions over the past 30 years in terms of formulating motions or coming up with amendments to motions, and you've just been invaluable in that regard. And on a personal note, both Robin and Diana McCula, our assistant village manager, really helped me through a very difficult time when we were transitioning from our former village manager, Bill Dixon, to our new village manager, Randy Recklouse. And we would not have gotten through that 6 or 7 month period without Robin's wise counsel, as well as Diana McCula's leadership as well. And so, Robin, for all your contributions over the past 32 years, again, we can't thank you enough. And on behalf of the village board, we wish you the best of luck and a very happy retirement. So congratulations.
Thank you very much for all the kind words. It's been quite the ride. I never would have expected 32 years ago that I'd still be here, but I don't regret a minute of it. It's been a great experience. So I thank you for all your kind words.
Thanks, Robin. Anybody else, anything to add? Trustee Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mayor. I, as well as you, have had 30 years on and off with different things, but 20 years on the board, and would echo your comments and that of Randy. Thank you, Robin, for her service. And, as you said, she has been invaluable at the meetings and, a big help. And especially since Jack has been gone, she's really filled in the gap there and, made a huge difference at the meetings. And, we could always count on her for her words of wisdom and her authorship of motions and things like that. So it's been a big help. And, it's sorry to see you go, but good luck with your retirement and thank you for everything. So appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Bert. All right. Seeing no other hands, again, congratulations, Robin. All right. Randy, anything further under the report of the village manager? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to petitions and communications. And let me just check. We do have a hand up. Steve Schwartz. Steve, did you have something to add?
You should be able to hear me.
Yeah, we got you. I imagine you want to add something about our in-house counsel.
I did. I just want to congratulate Robin. For those of you who don't know, I'm the union president for the fire department. Just want to congratulate Robin for all her years of service. And I know I haven't worked with her very long, just a few years, but I know she's been an innovator as well as Bill Kidd in interest-based bargaining for negotiations, which has been very fruitful for both sides. And that's one thing she should hang her hat on, be very proud of. In order to do interest-based bargaining, it takes a mutual trust on both sides. And I want to thank her for nurturing that relationship over all these years. So thank you very much, Robin. Congratulations. Enjoy your retirement.
All right, thanks, Steve. All right, we do have petitions and communications remaining. Let me call on Becky. Becky Hume, did you find anything from Melissa?
I did, and I apologize. I had not checked my junk email prior to the meeting.
Right. Why don't we go ahead and take that now, if you would?
Okay. She submitted 5 questions. The first one, why did you vote to forego property tax revenue for 23 years from the TIF district around Arlington Heights Road and Algonquin Road for the Village of Arlington Heights and the other taxing bodies? Number 2, which taxing bodies are on the Village of Arlington Heights' Joint Review Board? Number 3, please have the Planning and Community Development Group prepare an equation to calculate the amount of taxing bodies' debt affixed to an individual property. Number 4, Mayor, can you make an educated guess as to how much taxing body's debt is affixed to your property? Number 5, does the amount of taxing body's debt affixed to a property affect the property sales price and mortgage cost?
All right, thanks, Becky. I'm not sure I have answers to any of those 4 questions. I think we answered the first one the last time. But Mr. Recklaus, do you have any response to that? Or
I just want to make clear that when you set up a TIF, not the village nor any other taxing body is foregoing all of their property taxes. Whatever property taxes that the village, the school district, park district, et cetera, are collecting when the TIF is established, they will continue to collect for those 23 years, that same amount on that piece of property. And what happens is any growth in value or any growth in property taxes that comes for growth in value for that property for 23 years goes into a fund that can be used to help pay for improvements just on that property for 23 years. And then after the 23 years is up, the property taxes, presumably the value of that property will be increased and all the taxing bodies will enjoy an increase in revenue from that growth. As far as what taxing bodies are on a joint review board, that would depend on where the piece of property is located. We have a multitude of school districts. And so, you generally will have the elementary school district, which there are a number that represent Arlington Heights, District 214, Park District, Library, Harper College, Township, any entity that someone in that property pays taxes to will have representation on the joint review board. As far as debt, that information you'd have to check with the county assessor's office, and they do have information of that kind. You can find it on your property tax bill in terms of debt, what you're paying towards debt for an individual property. You can find information from every individual taxing body as to what their debt is as well, but that's not something we would have. We're not in charge of overall property tax calculation. That would be the county. And so I would direct anyone who's interested in that to go there, because we just don't have any, we're not someone that collects the property taxes. We just receive, the county collects them and then we receive them. As to the impact on property value, I really can't speak to that. That's not something that we would be able to determine as to what impact taxes have on property tax value.
Okay, thanks, Randy. Any other petitions and communications from the village board? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
By Trustee Tinaglia, seconded by Trustee Rosenberg. Roll call.
Tinaglia?
Yes.
Trustee Rosenberg?
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes.
Trustee Canty?
Yes.
Trustee Padovani?
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Baldino?
Yes.
President Hayes?
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you all for joining us tonight and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right.